Good morning, troops. Although actually, maybe not saying good morning, troops is the best phraseology in line with current events in the Ukraine. But it's me here coming live from the kitchen. And yeah, I would have thought the Jehovah's. If you know any Jehovah's Witnesses, I haven't seen one for a long time. They are, rarer than seeing a unicorn. But yeah, if you've seen any Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm sure they'd be absolutely creaming themselves like Lloyd Evans in a Thai brothel at the recent events in the Ukraine. I'm absolutely sure that very soon that there will be something said by Tony and Chums, just saying this is, more fulfillment of Bible prophecy, showing the aggression of the King of the North. Now, the King of the North, yeah, that's an interesting one, because when I was a witness back in the bad old days, the King of the North was identified. I think it went through various different people. It's like a football league. Like you had different people. Which would we be slowly, becoming the top of the tree to become King of the North. And I think obviously at one time it must have been Germany. And then obviously it turned around to being the USSR, who then went and occupied enough other countries that Germany had taken over, and decided not to leave. They were going in to help these people from aggression from the Nazis, and decided to not leave. And yeah, I was brought up with the Iron Curtain and the Cold War and the partition of Berlin, and it was it was always around. It was always around, and even as I said to people before, but not on the video, I don't think. But when I was growing up, I think in the 70s, we even had a government leaflet which was dropped through our doors, just like something for home improvements or solar panels or any other bump that come through the door. And it was I think it was called it was a pamphlet which described to us, in the case of a nuclear war, how to protect ourselves. Yes, it really did happen. You just can't imagine that today. But this was a serious pamphlet that was given out to every home in Britain because of the threat of nuclear war. This isn't all that long ago, really, when I think about, I think it was the early 80s and the 70s. And it described, I remember always having a few handy, some food to last you through a nuclear winter. And what you were supposed to do was that somehow you were supposed to be able to take the door off one of your hinges and then lie it against a wall, and everybody would go under that, just in case obviously the house fell on top of you, and the door would protect you. It wouldn't protect you from obviously the effects of radiation, which is a little bit odd. And there was a cartoon done at the time, I can't remember the name of it, but Roger Waters, who was in Pink Floyd, I believe he did the music for it, and it was about two old couples surviving through in Britain, bombing by obviously maybe USSR, and eventually they both I remember one of them succumbed to radiation poisoning. But that's what we were brought up with. And then of course the King of the North disappeared, because of course what happened was we had Gorbachev decided to change the face of the USSR, and then of course one by one all the countries that had been taken over by the USSR after World War II eventually claimed their own independence, and they all have been independent since then, apart from maybe one, which is Belarus, which although it's independent, it's clearly got Putin's puppet in control there. But yeah, and that was it. And then when it came to the Jehovah's Witnesses, they didn't know who the King of the North was, because at that time Russia just ended up being a little bit insignificant, because China at that point was like could potentially be the new King of the North, and Russia just sort of faded away to nothing. And then all of a sudden we were in this sort of vacuum where we're looking for fulfillment of Bible prophecy. But Jehovah God decided not to advise his spirit anointed ones on the earth who the king of the north was. I don't know how long this vacuum went on for, but I'm sure only a few years ago, after the USSR collapse was a long time ago. It's like a vacuum. It might have been 10 years, it may be longer, I don't know, and I don't care. But at the end of the day, all of a sudden they announce, aha, we've now been informed that the king of the north is, wait for it, Russia. And you're thinking, wow, no shit, Sherlock. So you mean the most dominant part of the previous Soviet Republic, who still control a lot of nuclear weapons, they all of a sudden are now the new king of the north? Wow, I never saw that one coming. You know, who was it going to be? Thailand, you know, no, why did Thailand come to mind? Who else was it going to be, obviously? Clearly, the king of the north would always have to be somebody in the north, and it'd have to be somebody quite aggressive, and Russia's never gone away from that. And then, of course, we had Russia then going into the Crimea, whenever that was, 7 years ago, I can't remember now, I can't remember when it was. But at the end of the day is that they've always been a bit like they are at the moment. This going into Ukraine is just what they're all about. Just, you know, an aggressive country which has had, you know, apart from Gorbachev, a whole host of different leaders who are just arseholes, just literally arseholes. But the thing about it is, we've been here before. You know, this is all going tits up in the Ukraine, and then of course all the other countries that surround the Ukraine, I think they're in NATO, and at the very moment that a Russian soldier goes into Poland or Romania or the other ones, you know, you know, they wouldn't dare do that, because at that point there will be a global conflict, no doubt about it. Unfortunately, Ukraine decided to stay neutral, which has now obviously proved to be a major blunder by, well, whoever's been in control of Ukraine since they booted the Soviets out. So this thing about the king of the north, then, in fulfillment of Bible prophecy, it's just history repeating itself, albeit on a smaller scale. How can you say that when the king of the north achieved its zenith, as in how big the Soviet Republic used to be, and then it diminished, but now it's the king of the north, and this is fulfillment of Bible prophecy? You would have thought when the Soviet Union was railroading itself into Europe, and even I think it was still at it in the 60s and putting down the uprisings in Prague and going into Czechoslovakia, that at that point you would have thought then was the time for fulfillment of Bible prophecy. But it's like so many other things with Jehovah's Witnesses. Remember in, I think it was 86 or 84, I think the UN said that it was the International Year of Peace, and literally all the witnesses were creaming themselves like Lloyd Evans, well, Little Lloyd, in a Thai brothel, because they thought this is the fulfillment of the UN announcing peace and security. And even the Watchtower had something to say about this by saying, this may be it. This may be it, because apparently it worked that they announced peace and security, and I think instant destruction was upon them. Now that was 86 or 84, it might have been 86 actually, or it might have been 88, oh, I will go for 86. And how, you know, when's that, 14 plus 22, what's that, 36 years ago or something now, 36 years, well, I don't know about instant destruction, but hell, you know, 36 years waiting to do something. But there you go, this is just another bunch, it's just something happening in the world that Jehovah's Witnesses, and they are, because if they're even saying it on my comments on some of the videos I put up, saying yes, this is happening, this is fulfillment of Bible prophecy. Oh, here we go again. It's just clutching at straws. The thing, what an interesting thing about it is, I did a video which you may want to look at if you want to, but it's on this channel somewhere. It's in relation to the UN, and still, if you look at the comments on this, there's these deluded people who clearly must be Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know why they're watching my videos anyway. Still trying to prove that the UN could do the impossible, and that was this whole thing that the UN was going to go into every country in this world and close down every church, chapel, mosque and temple and Orange Lodge. you know, just all these things would get closed down, and all these people who've been going to these places of worship for, you know, the family members for potentially hundreds, maybe 500, 1,000 years, that, you know, they can trace their families worshipping in this church, worshipping this religion, that all of a sudden overnight they go, okay, game's a bogey. I didn't believe it anyway. It was a bag of shite. And the only ones who wouldn't say that, of course, were the Jehovah's Witnesses. No, we still want to go to our kingdom halls. I don't care. There's a soldier there. We're going to the kingdom halls, unless of course it's COVID, and then we won't go to the kingdom hall on COVID. You know, but all of a sudden, you know, COVID, we won't go to the kingdom hall. Soldier with a machine gun, let's go to the kingdom hall. And apparently it's when the soldiers start attacking the Jehovah's Witnesses, that's when Armageddon comes. Bit confuses. Is the whole timeline, is it King of the North aggression, UN peace and security, UN turning on religion, UN turning on the witnesses? What's the timeline here? How does it all work out? Because the end game seems to be the point that the UN turns on Jehovah's Witnesses, that's when Armageddon comes. So I don't know about the whole bit about peace and security and what's happening with the King of the North. It's a bit tricky to fit in all these cataclysmic world events to finally end up with the UN banning religion. Yet so many times in the past we've seen, I even remember when it was the first Gulf War, I think it was, and you know, the people saying at the time, well, this is it, this is going to the precursor of religion getting banned worldwide, because they'll just say we're fed up all these religious wars, you know, we're going to close down all these mosques and temples and what have you. And I'm thinking, really? The UN? This is the UN who stood idly by, and if anybody watched the awful scenes in the Balkan War where literally they did nothing and allowed all the men taken out, the Bosnians taken out by the Serbs, and actually just taken away and shot in forests, and stood idly by and did nothing, and killed in churches and did nothing. And the same with the massacres in Rwanda, and did nothing. These same guys are going to be the guys that somehow are going to go into every country in this world and close down every temple, every mosque, every church, every kingdom hall. You know, and I've done a big video about this to show that it's absolutely impossible, because, you know, there isn't enough people in the UN to even achieve this. When you think about all the mosques that there are in temples in this world, how are they going to shut down every one? And to prove how ineffectual the UN actually is, they tried to just 2 days ago, I think it was, pass a UN resolution to actually protest about Russia's involvement, invasion, I should say, in Ukraine. And guess what? It never passed. The resolution never passed. Why it never passed is because I think 3 countries abstained. I think Belarus might be one of them, surprise, surprise. China was one. I think there was a couple of others where one of the Arab countries. And everybody else wanted to pass it, and somebody vetoed it. Which country vetoed the UN resolution? Surprise, surprise, the president at the moment of the UN is a Russian. It's Russia. Russia hold the presidency in this particular term, and they decided to veto it. So of course, when you get somebody who's a strong member like Russia, if they veto it, that's it, nothing gets passed. And this is the UN, and this is the organisation that somehow is going to come, you know, to pass a worldwide resolution to ban religion all over this world and close down the kingdom halls. Eventually, this will be the precursor to the attack on the witnesses, which will lead to Armageddon. It's never going to happen. It can't happen. It's complete utter bollocks. Yet bizarrely, I used to believe that. Like probably anybody else who was formerly a Jehovah's Witness, we believed that the UN was going to do this. And when you logically think about it and see the UN in action over the past, you know, so many decades in conflicts in the world, that you just realise what an ineffectual organisation it really, really is. So anyway, that's it. That's my lot on the aggression of the King of the North. We've been here before, and it's probably just going to play out for a long, long time. They're actually even saying now, you know, I think Putin was actually expecting to be welcomed into the Ukraine as though the Russians were liberating Ukraine. In fact, he's totally miscalculated when we've got people from Ukrainians all over the world wanting to go back to Ukraine, because nobody wants to be liberated. Nobody wants to come under what's happening in Russia, where you see people in Moscow are actually arrested on the street for just going out and protesting against this war, where even the TV channels are not even calling it a war. You know, who would want to go into that sort of dictatorship, that sort of regime? Yet Putin thought the Ukrainians would welcome him. Absolutely bizarre. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. That's my tuppence halfpenny's worth on that one, but just wait for Tony and Chums to tell us that yet again we are that one step closer to Armageddon. Wow, have I heard that so many times. Anyway, bye-bye.